Okay, let's get into it. This is the tragic and really compelling story of Gabby Petito. It's a case that absolutely captured the world's attention. And in the end, it revealed a dark, dark truth that was hiding in plain sight. For Gabby Petito, the dream was this picture-perfect hashtag van life adventure, shared with the whole world online. But that dream was hiding a really heartbreaking reality, a reality that was actually caught on a police body cam just a few weeks before she vanished. So, back in the summer of 2021, you've got 22-year-old Gabby Petito and her fiancé Brian Laundrie. They set out to become travel vloggers, and they're documenting this whole hashtag van life journey for everyone to see. But then, in late August of that year, the social media posts, they just stopped. The journey and that dream they were sharing, it took a really dark and sudden turn. As the days turn into weeks with absolutely no word from Gabby, you can just imagine, her family started to panic. Their calls, their texts, they all went unanswered. All they got was this chilling, uncooperative silence from Brian and his parents. So when the police finally knock on the Laundrie's door, the response they get is just cold and calculated. Brian is home, but Gabby isn't. And oh, by the way, the family had already hired a lawyer. To really understand how this all happened, we have to rewind a bit. Let's go back to August 12th in Moab, Utah, the day that hashtag van life dream just shattered right out in public. It all started with a 911 call. A witness reported seeing a violent fight, and that led police to pull over the couple's van. And what happened next revealed this huge disconnect. Witnesses said they saw Brian slapping Gabby, physically stopping her from getting in the van. But Brian, he told the officers a completely different story, and it seems it's a story they decided to accept. Yeah, despite Gabby's obvious distress, an independent investigation later found that the police made some pretty critical errors. Incredibly, they labeled her as the aggressor and completely failed to see the classic signs of a domestic violence victim who was pleading for help. And this is why that oversight was so critical. Gabby told the police Brian had grabbed her face. Now, that act is really closely related to strangulation, and the research on this is terrifying. It shows that when this happens in a relationship, the victim's risk of being killed by their partner can shoot up by as much as 750%. It was a massive, lethal warning sign, and it was tragically missed. So, with law enforcement kind of slow to act and the Laundrie family staying completely silent, the public, well, they decided to take matters into their own hands. I mean, it was incredible. You had this huge, unprecedented army of online detectives just dissecting every single piece of evidence they could find. They generated thousands of tips and created this media frenzy. And the big break in the case, it came from a tip. Some fellow travel YouTubers were reviewing their old footage, and they found Gabby's van parked at a remote campsite in Wyoming. This one little clue helped the FBI narrow a massive search area right down to one specific spot. And all the efforts of that digital search party, they led investigators to the terrible, terrible truth. On September 19th, Gabby's body was discovered near that campsite. The nationwide search had come to the most heartbreaking conclusion possible. And Brian Laundrie, the guy who had vanished while the search for Gabby was heating up, he was found about a month later in a Florida nature reserve. His death was ruled a suicide, and that closed the criminal chapter of the case. But Gabby's story, it didn't end there. Her death forced this really difficult but absolutely necessary conversation about some much bigger issues. Right out of their own unimaginable grief, Gabby's family created a foundation to help other people who are facing similar crises. They wanted to make sure her legacy would be one of hope. Her case also ignited this fierce debate about a phenomenon that's known as missing white woman syndrome. You see, the intense wall-to-wall media focus on Gabby's disappearance, it really highlighted a stark difference. It forced a national conversation about why. Why do some stories become these huge obsessions while thousands of others, especially cases involving people of color, are just ignored? So, at the end of the day, Gabby's story leaves all of us with this final, crucial question. It's a challenge, really, to our systems, to our media, and to ourselves.